Okay, and we are back once again with another interview. This time, looking ahead to the big story matchup taking place on the card. This one's going to be very, very interesting. We got two absolute gamers with me right now. We've got Allegro and we've got Alpha. How are you guys doing today? How are you, Allegro?
I'm doing pretty well. Just chilling.
Yeah, just having a good time. Can't complain. And Alpha, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty bad, honestly. I wish I would not have to be playing Nintendogs today, but I mean, we'll see what happens in the next days. I'm glad to be here, just like the first whatever.
I'm glad you're preparing for the rival battle by playing Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah.
It's already
Fishing
one
wild.
game to Allegro in the bag, but
Mhm.
but hey, go
My
on.
Chihuahua can outpace your dastard.
if it
Nah,
goes
nah,
if it goes to game
Captain.
9, we'll run it in Nintendogs. But
Sounds
hey, yeah,
good.
let's talk about what we got going on here. So obviously, big story is the name of the category. Probably, I think it's fair to say, maybe with the exception of Supersonic Story, but even that's gotten like it's fair. Out of like the six main stories, big is probably like the least ran category. Maybe I suppose maybe sort of like the black sheep you could say. But for you two, you've both put your fair old amount of time into it because you're up there top five each on the board, and yeah, I want to sort of hear the story really because I got to admit, big story for me. I'm not the most familiar with, but I want to kind of hear about what your history with it is and like how you've gotten into it, how you got to where you are today. So Allegro, I'll ask you first.
So I want to say I want to say 10 years ago, but it's probably like more like 9 years ago that I started messing around with speedrunning in general. And uh, one of the first things that came to was Sonic Adventure DX, and I was just like, I kind of want to get into Sonic Story, but I kind of want to learn the other categories first.
Mm.
So I decided to learn Tails, and I was like, you know what? I kind of remember kind of liking the fishing, so I might as well go do big. At the time, I was just like, I'll just do Tails and Big to start off, and for some reason, Big just ended up sticking with me for the longest amount of time. I
Yes.
basically stayed on and off on SATX for the longest amount of times, but recently I've been trying to be a bit more efficient with this category, so I've been chipping away at it.
Yeah, for
E-
sure. So you've been in it for
e-
a lot longer than Alpha playing Nintendo.
No,
You've been in it for a
forgot to
lot.
mute.
So you've been in it for a lot longer than I thought you have. And but yeah, wow. So like 8-9 years. That's so you got like plenty of experience under your belt. And just in terms of sort of where you are today, obviously top five. You mentioned they're trying to be a bit more efficient with it. Is there like any particular goals on the horizon for you? Is there anything that you've kind of got that you want to push this category to for yourself, or what do you think?
Well, I definitely want to try to shoot for top three soon.
Mhm.
I've been kind of experimenting with more strats that Pra and Mako have been using in recent years, so I've been really wanting to push it down to their level. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. All right then, and same question to you, Alpha, because safe to say big isn't your main category, but definitely one that like it looks like you've put a decent little bit of time into. So what's your story with big? Because you've also been around adventure for a fair old while, but with big story in particular, what's the Alpha story?
So essentially, I was always like more of a Tails guy. I mean, my first original category in SATX was always like Tails as a kid, like always going back to Sonic just to do Emerald Coast and then like doing Tails over and over again. And then sometimes like on very special occasions I would finish the game just
Hmm.
to be able to play Tails, right? But I've seen a lot of Jerk when I was growing up, like as a teenager and everything, and I was always wondering like what was the hype about Big Story? Because I mean, technically all I was seeing is like a purple cat jumping and not really like going necessarily faster or whatever, even by walking. I just didn't understand any physics of it, right? And I
Hmm.
never gave it a chance. And I wanted to do 130 emblems when I came back around 2021 in Sonic Adventure DX for speedrunning purposes. And as you guys may know already, in 130 emblems, if you don't know what big is, it's pretty drastically terrible if you don't know what you're doing. So with time, I was kind of like forced to learn big. Kind of funny enough to be able to run that category.
Mm.
And by the practice, I was like, wait, I could just learn the category. And I started like kind of like practicing like quick catches, insta catch glitches, and then like kind of like experimenting around the movement and learning about like full hop, hovers and stuff like that. And like I just think the tech skill in Big Story is like way better than people think. And I think it's a great category, even though it might not be the one that I will be grinding the most. It's definitely one of the most surprisingly fun ones I've been taken by far. So yeah, no, definitely a cool category, and that's kind of like why I'm here now. Just started grinding it like for a long time because of practice, essentially.
Yeah, and so it's funny that how like with a lot of people they kind of have a view to the sort of like more inclusive categories like all stories and 30 emblems. They kind of end up picking something up along the way that they kind of gravitate to. Like when I was learning CAG, for example, like I didn't expect to like any of the categories as much as I did, but yeah, it's funny that how Sadix just seems to have that way of pulling people towards places they didn't expect to go to. But yeah,
Yeah,
full
no,
big story.
absolutely.
But yeah, full big story for you. Like I asked Allegro, is there anything that you kind of want to do in terms of pushing it further, or are you kind of happy with where you are with it? What do you think?
Um, I would probably at some point push for top three. Also, I don't necessarily think I would go like at Mako's throat or Nixer's shows because they're both ridiculously like experienced and talented. At I was about to say the game, but I'm like kind of pushing myself down if I say that, so I'm just gonna be saying like to Big Story. They're kind of like insane.
Hmm.
And Mako is like a king at discovering like strats, so like just going into the repertoire of the things that he's found, maybe like on his channel or something. Like there's a few clips that you're like, wow, what the? There's a clip there with Big or like something. Like there's a lot of very cool tech and stuff that Mako found. And I mean,
Hmm.
like by looking at Nixer, it's like I know for a fact I'm not beating Nixer in Big Story. Movement is just crazy. But Praha on the other hand is I don't know, definitely seems reachable. There's a lot of places in the movement that you can see that um like it's not just about the angles or whatever, right? Because Praha I think landed every single insta catches if I remember correctly in his PB. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot to handle. Like to get there, you need to have a pretty freaking solid run. But there's a few mistakes here and there, obviously. But like if I'm for pushing big, that's definitely a time that I want to beat on the long run. So yeah, no, that's pretty much where I'd be headed if I start back grinding big, which will be a thing at some point. Just not really right now because I'm pretty busy in general. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. And so bringing it back to this then, so obviously you two going up against each other, right next to each other on the leaderboard, only 2 seconds apart, um,
Mhm.
and going to be facing off against each other in this matchup here on April 28th. In terms of sort of like a rivalry and in terms of sort of like uh, a connection and sort of like a acknowledgement of each other in terms of competing, rather I should say, against each other. Is there much history there? Is there much sort of like with this story in particular? Has there been a lot of back and forth, or have you kind of just ended up side by side on the leaderboard by chance? I'll ask you Alpha first.
Well,
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I definitely think that there's been like a few back and forth. Definitely not like a big rivalry or something. Like it's kind of like a first like concept that's pretty much brang to us because it's like for big story like we don't necessarily like expect to see it in a rival battle or something. But like
Mm,
kind of like, when we see it this way, like right now, it's like oh, it makes sense. Like that's been a rivalry even though we didn't realize it because it's been Allegro PBing, then me PBing, and then Allegro PBing, and then me PBing again. It's just like now we're in the 6-3Xs. And before that, I think like I don't know if both of us were like struggling like to beat like the people above, but I know for a fact that for a while I wanted to be good at Big Story, but I never really took the time to grind it or understand it. Um, but yeah, no, like definitely I could see a rivalry from now on, but I haven't really like seen it before, but definitely a lot of back and forth from my perspective.
yeah, and then the same question to you for Alpha Allegro. Has there been, I guess maybe just kind of across the board, really? Obviously, you've seen Alpha in the SADX community for a while. Is there sort of like much rivalry there? Is there much when you look at him sort of just above you in the board of this category that you've been part of for so long? Um, is there that desire to go and get that back, or is it kind of like a respect? What do you think of Alpha? This guy, this funny old guy.
I have a lot of respect for Alpha. He's really talented across the board, across all pretty much a lot of the categories here. But yeah, it's the same thing with Alpha said. I wasn't like directly pointing, oh, I gotta beat Alpha or whatever. I was just like, I just want to improve my time, and just happened that we kept exchanging times. So, uh, probably before we started exchanging times, I was mainly trying to beat my boy Jericho because we've been friends for a long while. He's been kind of retired on it, but I beat him this time about 2 years ago, I want to say. Then it's just been kind of small pushes after that point, and Alpha has been basically helping push that needle, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and so I want to talk to you both a little bit about sort of the kind of approach you two have. Obviously, I guess Alpha for you, you've got a bit more experience. Um, Allegro, I know you're across sort of maybe like the Heroes community as well. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I've run Team Sonic and a bit of Team Dark. I've currently run the Heroes community server.
Hmm. Yeah, and so obviously, Heroes hasn't had like the largest history of events and such, and obviously, Big Story is yet to really appear. So I'm not sure how much sort of. I'm guessing you've probably had a race or two in your time, that's for sure. But when it comes to sort of your approach for races, uh, what's that sort of like for you? Is it sort of like a preparation thing? How much practice goes in the days leading up, and going into this one in particular? What's kind of your attitude and mentality?
Uh, I tend to be a bit more careful when it comes to races. I usually just make sure I'm like well prepared on backup strats, and rather than like my crazy. If I'm going for much more risky strats, I usually I get safety strats more nailed down first before I
Mhm.
be focusing on the risky strats. This is kind of applies for big, but there's not that much aside from instant catches. So it's just mainly what's the best way to recover from not hitting an instant catch. So
Yeah, and the fact that this is going to be a best of nine, so first to five, how much is that going to kind of play into it in terms of sort of going in for you? Because obviously, you've got that room for mistake, to make mistakes rather, but it's not your conventional race. It's not sort of like a one and done kind of thing. Is that going to sort of help you? Do you think, or is that going to kind of make it harder? What do you kind of think about these sort of? Do you prefer like a best of style, or you're more of a one and done kind of race guy?
uh, it really depends. I don't do very much of I have not done that much of racing in at least the past 3 or 4 years, maybe. But I usually sometimes I like best stuff, but um, usually it depends on from category to category, game to game. Usually, if
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
heroes, if it's heroes, I usually just go for a one and done, and then I guess for something smaller like this, it's definitely better for a pace of just best stuff. So
Yeah, sure. And Alpha, then, same question to you. Obviously, as we say, you've probably got a bit more recent experience with the racing department. But actually, we haven't seen you on an event since CAG last year, right? Am I saying that correctly? Or
Um,
well, I guess you've been
have
on some
I?
Frontiers stuff, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've been. God, it's been kind of crazy actually. Since Frontier's job, I've been like pretty much just like handling community stuff and moderation stuff,
Hmm.
and pretty much grinding. Like I pretty much had a massive rivalry with Katie, for a while, and even like Anaku and like the people that really popped off, um, around the Frontiers community. Another person, SMB, that's from the Adventure series a little bit more that we know. Um, and so I've been like really busy in general. I haven't been doing like much races and stuff like that, but I've been doing a few ones with the spacebar, like Knuckles. I've done like tail stuff a little bit. Definitely touched a little bit of Sonic in the meanwhile for the bingo and everything.
Hmm.
In terms of practice and just doing no resets and stuff to kind of like practice consistency. And I mean, I will have to now that we have a pretty big thing going on for SGDQ. But yeah, no, I'm definitely very proud to be playing like Sadex again very soon because I mean, it feels nice to come back a little bit to play the beloved game for sure. Not saying that I don't like Frontiers as much as I like Zadex, but it's it's Zadex is special. It's a special one.
Yeah, definitely. And as someone who's kind of like gone deep into like the thick of it with like tournaments and whatnot in terms of getting those races under your belts and having stuff to race for. What's it like for you in terms of preparation, really? Like for anything, really? Like there's a lot of practice again for you going to it, or how's your approach when the day comes? Like, do you wake up? Do you put on the music? Do you just vibe, or you practice it until the match starts? What's it like? What's it like for you?
Um, it's probably related. I'd say like the best practice that I have personally is with my mindset. It sounds weird said like that, but
Hmm.
I definitely need to like put my head in the right place before I go into any races because pressure can be very overwhelming and it can take you over completely. We've seen so
Yeah.
many races, like especially in the HST, I think from last year, we've seen a lot of people like kind of like being in the lead and just ended up like kind of like failing a trick, and then it just that one trick, even though it's small and nothing, in their head it was just like the biggest elevation ever. So then they just ended up losing because failing the trick over and over again until the opponent got the lead back, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that I had a problem like this, kind of thinking back at it over and over again. So I tried to pretty much meditate, focus a little bit more in my head, like kind of like set myself up before a race, and obviously practice a little bit consistency with the game, but mainly doing like a work in my head because I mean, after years of playing SADX, I have pretty good muscle memory, I'd say. But even though I need to like practice once or twice before races, I do feel pretty confident going against people in racing each of the awesome members of the community. That's kind of like how I feel, especially with this game.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of members of the community, next question for you would be, what in terms of this race going into big story, what are going to be the things that you've got that are the main strengths to your game with this category, and what are the things that are going to give you an edge over your opponent?
Um, I do think that my lineups in SADX are pretty decent. I do think like that's probably the best part of my gameplay. I do think ILs I'm probably going to get completely washed up by Allegro, even though it doesn't seem like it on surface, because of leaderboard times or whatever. Even though it's really close, Allegro is a beast at ILs. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of it, and I don't think I'm ever going to get close to that, especially if I don't really put in the grind right before the races. And I mean, kind of out of time, right? There's like 3 days in between the race right now, so I need to get for sure fast into my movement. I do think first, but my lineups and my understanding of the game is pretty strong for like just knowledge base. So I do think that like pure movement will be what will set me apart a bit if I get a lead or anything. But yeah, I'm definitely not just banking on that. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then same question to you, Allegro. What are the things that you've got in your big story locker that you feel are going to put you in charge in this race ahead of Alpha?
Well, I feel like I could probably. I'm pretty consistent with instant catches, but as of late, it can be a little bit tricky to line up. So, uh, I mean, these races could be going anywhere, but uh, yeah, it's mainly just down to just getting those instant catches and just recovering fast for whenever it just doesn't click. So, I
Mhm.
feel like I've been at least been pretty good with handling recoveries in offline practice recently. So, yeah, well, let's see if that pays off for me.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so, if I was to say to you, sort of, let's just say for like each race, so just the one round, if I was to say to you what time that you walk away with feeling satisfied with, and what time do you feel is going to get you a win over Alpha, if I said to you, okay, you can pick a time, put it on the table right now, you can walk away feeling happy with that, what is that time for you?
uh, I'd probably say maybe if most things go right, I'd probably say like a high 6 minute time, like 6:50 something.
Yeah, sounds decent. And then Alpha, same question to you. What kind of heights are you aiming for, and what kind of things are you going to walk away feeling satisfied with in this race in terms of time?
Um, I'm definitely going to be aiming for sub sevens for sure, but I do think like if I want to win, I have to be playing at around 7 seconds of my PB. That's
Oof.
how I see it. which is because I mean, Allegro just mentioned like sub 7 or very high 6 minutes, but I do think I'm gonna have to play better than that if I want to bank on the races. Like, because we're talking like for sure like W's, like a win for sure, like in the bag. I would say like probably like a 641, 642, something like pretty freaking strong for like close up to my PB definitely. I'm definitely a little bit scared about the race and everything. I'll be the first one to mention it, but yeah, for sure.
What if I could just say walk away feeling satisfied? You know, what would you be happy with?
Mm, I do think. I mean, obviously that's not really the question. I do think though that I would probably play around like I'm like saying like maybe 705, 710, like with mistakes or something. Like
Okay.
let's say Froggy like he kills me in Ice Gap or in Hot Shelter. That would be a worst case scenario, obviously. So we're gonna have to be careful. But um, I do think like 705 to 710 or something would be like around what I'd be getting. But ideally like what I think I'd be happy or satisfied with if I'm not playing like to the best that I think I could bank on. Probably like a 650, 655 and a little bit below or around that point. I think like anything like surrounding that and sub 7 is good to me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, and so the next question is a bit of a funny one, because currently, obviously, the way we do things on Rival Battles is that we have the title system, and Big, Tails, and Supersonic, they all fall under one title, and the current holder of that title is Refrag, who I believe, if either of you were going to try and convince to come and play in any other story other than Supersonic story, that might take some doing. But I guess more so to ask you guys, like, would there be any aspirations of something like that, sort of like competing to like further degrees in rival battles and looking to maybe sort of win some titles of your own? What do you think there? I'll ask you, Allegro.
Uh, Thinking that like I'm not really that interested in going forward for that. It'd be nice, but
Yeah,
uh, it's not something I'd really shoot for.
that's fair enough. And then Alpha, anything that you kind of have your eye on? Like, you know, Refrag is there. He's got that belt. Can you do it? Can you convince him to play Big Story?
Hmm. I don't know about Big Story, but I know that this can get the smoke and tails. I'm down with the rematch of GDQ. I mean,
Well,
we've
we'll,
done a
we'll
pretty sick performance, so
that came close. That came close. That came real close. But we'll ask about that one in a second. Yeah, actually, that was actually going to be the very next question. Actually, is there any other potential categories or matchups out there that you wouldn't mind dipping your toes into? Anything on Stacer, whether it's Heroes 06, Sonic Adventure 1, 2, another game which I can't remember, Shadow the Hedgehog.
yeah, we also
Yeah.
have that game. True.
Anything out there that you have your eye on, Alpha?
I mean, as I just mentioned, like I do love racing you or Yoshi. I do think like you're
Mm.
my two favorite like you two are my
Aw.
favorite people to race or just have fun around while playing Tails or something. In Sonic Story, obviously racing Refrag or Katie is something that I wouldn't mind doing. On Knuckles, obviously Spacebar.
You
On
got a long
Amy,
selection, huh?
Pasta's been talking shit. Loki, Pasta's been talking shit in DMs and stuff, and also like in Seymour around saying like, "You think you're so good at Amy, but you're not. Like, you don't know what you're doing wrong and stuff." I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm literally
Oh
like three
wow.
seconds off your PV. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So that would also
Pasta,
be a sick
wow.
matchup.
Pasta wants his get back after that spacebar loss, huh? Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of how I see it. Also, Mimic and Gamma, like a Quebec
Oh,
matchup could be cool for Gamma. Yeah.
you're just going after spacebar's. Well, not space, but that's. So Pasta lost to space and Mimic lost to Scoob. So now you're cleaning up the leftovers. Is that what's going on?
I mean, gotta eat the rest of the plate before we move on to the dessert. You know what I mean? That's how it is. You know.
But yeah, no. So you're not short for potential matchups. That's for sure. Definitely would be cool to see you more often on here. But yeah, Allegro, same question to you. Is there any sort of thing out there that you would like to stake a challenge in? Is there any opponent out there or any category that you think would be a fun time to take part in?
Well, if I derusted Heroes again, I'd probably uh see, Heroes has changed up a lot in the past years, and I would have to learn some new strats. But I'd love to probably, I don't know, maybe let's take a challenge Team Dark against pretty much anyone in the top there,
Yeah.
or Team Sonic, just anyone really. I guess maybe like go back and get Sid.
Oh,
Ooh,
Sid.
Sonic are
Critical Sid.
restricted
Oh,
again.
ooh, that'd be sick. That'd be sick.
be
That'd
very
be
interesting
fun,
if
but
he's up for it. Definitely. Oh.
it's been a while though.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. But actually, speaking of heroes, that kind of brings us to the next thing. Obviously, we've got all these other potential dream matchups out there, but we've got the main event of this one being Deku against Cantrell in Team Sonic, and a whole host of other matches as well. We got 5 other matches besides that and this. Is there anything on the card that you've sort of spotted and like to look at that you're going to be tuning into? Anything that has caught your eye? I'll ask you, Allegro.
Well, I'm definitely gonna be. Well, I'm biased here, but I'm gonna definitely check in on the Team Sonic story because Deku and Trell are like absolute monsters at Team Sonic. So,
Mm.
uh, man, uh, Trell recently had gotten the record for Team Sonic, and that run just came out of nowhere. It was crazy. I it showed up on SRC on the submission page, and I was just like, "What in the world is this time? Is this real?" I'm like, "Oh my!" Look at
Yeah,
all
it's
this
very cool.
stuff.
But we got that match made. But
Amazing.
go on. Sorry, go on.
Oh no! That's all I've got from me, really.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that one. Do I ask you for a prediction?
Ooh, um, that's a tough one. I'm wanting to kind of hedge my bets on Deku. Uh, just I knowing Deku for a long time, Deku can be really consistent at a lot of stuff, but I don't know. Trell could definitely pull it off.
We'll give it a look. We'll give it a watch. It'll be there. Main event time. And Alpha, same question to you. There's some stuff on this card that's catching your eye.
Listen, so there's been something going on with Tail Story, right? Venom and Natborn have both been like 1 second or two apart for such a long time. Like when I'm saying like a long time, it's been like years. When like they're not too far apart the entire time. And I do feel like Venom was always like, "Nah, I'm better than Natborn," and Natborn was always like, "Nah, I'm better than Venom." So I do see. I mean, very biased, right? I mean, I like Tail Story a lot, but I mean, this will be a sick race. I do think like this will be like if we're talking rival, I do think these two are like this is the rival that I see. But also Seahawks Gus is interesting to me because I mean
Hmm.
Gus is insane at hunting, right? And Seahawks is also very lucky at hunting. I mean, good at hunting, but mainly lucky. I'm not
Oh
talking
wow!
shit, by the way. I'm just saying.
Seahawks catching strays. Poor guy.
I mean, hey, hold on. I'm not trying to be toxic. I'm just trying to set the book. I'm replacing the pages of the. You
You're
know,
gonna get
it's.
called out, man. You're gonna get called out.
Oh Lord. Okay. Did they do their interviews yet? I'm not sure. I hope so. Yeah.
They
Right.
have done. They
Um.
have done.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Hopefully they don't watch this one. But anyway, Rev and Loke is also a great one that we could probably get high for. Rev is absolutely crack. I mean, Lokester also is really crack. I think Loke has been like mainly like on the programming side, like coding a little bit of stuff for PO6 and stuff around like that, or just like ROM hacks in general for O6. But both of them are really underrated runners. I feel of O6. Like you hear a lot Nick or Lab or even Focus like named, even Gordon around like the community. But these two are like not people that like get stalked enough. I feel like they are definitely insanely good runners. Um, and I mean, I don't know that much Shadow the Hedgehog, but it's interesting for me to see Big Mikey there in Neutral Glitchless, and obviously Spacebar and Scube. That'll be a sick watch because it's been also a little of a rivalry, even though Scube doesn't like to admit it. I sense it when Scube's racing says Spacebar that there's like a couple flames going on. But yeah, that's how I see things. This is a sick schedule for sure.
Yeah. Space has been on his CAG tour, so to say. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
taken down one by one Nimputs, Pastor, and now Scoob is in his way. So I don't know. I got to ask you the same question. Do we have any predictions from you for any of those matches?
Ooh, my lord. I mean, I've been talking for like 20 minutes at this point on these matches, but uh, probably like God, I feel like I'm going to make enemies if I talk. Uh, I mean, I'd say like I feel like on Tails, like depending on who practices, I feel like if it's going like no practice, I feel like Venom has this in the bag. Definitely for Tails. I feel like Venom like with muscle memory is probably better than Nadborn, but I feel like Nadborn like practiced going to be hard to beat for Venom. Like this I'm putting my bets on Venom because I feel like Nadborn has been playing a lot of Frontiers and Venom has been playing like around like more like clone hero and like heroes type of stuff.
Mhm.
Hopefully, in my race, I'm definitely banking on myself because I mean, if I don't, then I just give up. So yeah, it kind of has to go this way, right? Spacebar Cube, I'm not allowed to talk on that matter. Deku and Kentril, I do feel like Trail has something in plan. Deku is definitely the big guy of the situation right there. Like we definitely know that Deku is probably pretty much the goat of heroes with aura. Like it's pretty much like a disputable title, but I feel like Deku has kind of earned that with time and experience and knowledge. But Trail has been moving blocks, and by moving blocks, I mean like bricks and walls, and just been like kind of like ripping apart everything in the heroes community. So I do be rooting for Kentrell, even though Deku's my boy. I'm sorry, I have to do it. I have to root for Trail in this one, and that's pretty much
Okay.
what I have in the back.
Okay. Okay. Well. I like the sound of it. I like the sound of it indeed. But let's step back away again. We're going back to that land of fantasy, and I want to hear from each of you what your dream matchups would be if you could pick any game from Sasa, any category, any pair of runners that you could see on here in a race. Who are you picking, and what would you like to see? I'll ask you first, Allegro.
Ooh, that's tough. Come back to me on that one. I really have a hard time on that one. That's a really tough one.
Wait, is it like any person, any like runner ever
Any
against another runner?
any runner ever against any other runner ever, as long as the
Oh my
category is a
god.
Sasa game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm kind of like confused. Give me like a minute. I need to like think because this is a
Okay.
huge question.
Yeah, you could have like I don't know. You could have like Dark Spine Sonic against like
Yeah, that's what I'm
Dark
saying.
Throw.
Like,
In even though
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've never crossed paths in any game. I don't know. Like anything.
um,
Man, ooh. I've just known so many names over the years. It's just like there's been so many great runners that have just come and gone. Some are still active, some will just occasionally come back. Um, like you said, Darkspine Sonic's just crazy. I'd love to see him race just anybody in Team Rose again
Yeah,
if he caught up on strats. Eh, That'd be nuts.
oh yeah,
definitely be
absolutely.
interesting. Yeah. If I was to say maybe something like maybe to make the like selection paralysis a little bit less for you, maybe something like just based around who's on the scene right now. If you could see one hot matchup out there right now.
Just from that scene, yeah, I definitely have some ideas more.
Hmm. We'll do two. We'll do like a crazy dream matchup, and then we'll do like a semi-realistic one. So I'll let you guys think if you got it.
Mm.
How's the Nintendogs?
Bad. Um, yeah. I'd say like probably like I want to see like Darkspine Sonic and Silver versus Lab, but I want to see like with the strats of
Ooh,
the past. That's what I'm like
Hmm.
intrigued to see because
it's like a
cause,
restricted kind of silver sort of thing.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that
because
would
I
be
mean
interesting.
DSS is insane, right? At like the ILs and everything, and like the old strats and everything, and Lab like kind of like knew the old strats because he kind of like had to learn from DSS. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure like DSS is a big inspiration to Lab, and
Mhm.
as far as speedrunning goes and everything. So like, I do think this would be like a banger matchup for sure, for sure.
That would be
Um,
really. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely
yeah.
crazy.
And I guess oh, you have one? Go for it, go for it.
Uh, I guess in current times, I'd probably say maybe like a matchup between Revo and Aura for Team Dark. That'd be
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be really
good to
sick.
get both of those guys on here. That would be actually a lot of fun, actually. And Team Dark always deserves more love, so yeah, I'd like that one.
Indeed.
Yeah, there we go. I like the sound of those. But I don't know. Anybody have any more, or are we sort of thinking? Are we tapped out? What are we thinking?
I mean, I'm still thinking about the possible matches that could happen. Like this question literally like broke me in half. I'm still like thinking about possible ones, but in general, like I do think I don't have much else to add. I'm pretty much just like very pumped up and very hyped for the race. I'm super hyped to see what will happen, and I'm definitely going to get some popcorn before the races, and then hopefully I wash my hand in time for my race because I'm definitely not going to be looking at anywhere else but the screen for a couple hours. That is for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a real good one for sure. Looking forward to this. And so I'll ask you both the last thing before we go into it on April 28th and Face Off. Allegro, do you have a final message for Alpha?
Get ready to get frogged. I don't know.
And Alpha, any final message for Allegro from you?
Hey.
Because of Mimic the other day, I keep thinking you're going to say knife.
Oh yeah, that was a funny one.
Like annoying orange. And now Alpha is spamming heart eyes emoji. Well, there you go. I think that wraps us up. Unless you guys have anything left that you want to say, anything you want to put out there or promote or anything at all, the floor is yours.
Subscribe to Or Ace.
There we go.
That too. Definitely agree with that sentiment.
Alrighty, but we'll wrap things up there. We'll be back on April 28th to see who comes away with the winner's medal that we actually really have in real life. But yeah, thank you both for hopping on here, gamers. It's been a fun time. And we will see you both back here very soon. Don't go anywhere, gamers. We will be back very shortly. Take care.